Imagine a town not too different from your own. In this town lived Mr. Elijah. He wasn't just any elderly man, he was a sunshine spreader. Mr. Elijah, with his warm smile and twinkling eyes, was known throughout the neighborhood. His skin was a beautiful shade of brown, like rich, dark chocolate. He loved to spend his days tending to his garden where colorful flowers bloomed under his care. Kids would often stop by, drawn in by the sweet smell of roses and the sight of Mr. Elijah happily humming as he worked. He always had a kind word and maybe even a juicy strawberry for them. Mr. Elijah was the heart of the community, a gentle soul who made everyone feel welcome. He was loved by all, or so it seemed. But underneath the surface of sunny days and blooming flowers, something uneasy was growing in the town. It started with small things, whispers and misunderstandings. People started seeing each other differently, not as neighbors, but as strangers. A few bad apples began spreading unkind thoughts, like weeds in a garden. They saw differences in skin color, in how people talked, and even in what they believed. These differences, which should have made the town interesting, became reasons for suspicion and fear. The friendly smiles started to fade, replaced by worried frowns. The laughter of children seemed a little quieter. The air itself felt heavy, like a storm was brewing. One day, a new family moved in next door to Mr. Elijah. The dad, Mr. Johnson, was a grumpy man who didn't smile much. He didn't know anything about Mr. Elijah or the kind things he did for the community. Mr. Johnson saw Mr. Elijah watering his plants. The water accidentally splashed onto Mr. Johnson's car. It was just a little bit of water, but Mr. Johnson got very angry. He yelled at Mr. Elijah using unkind words. Because of the bad feelings in the town, Mr. Johnson didn't try to understand. Instead, he called the police, making up a story about Mr. Elijah acting strangely and being a danger. It was a lie fueled by prejudice and fear. Sadly, the police didn't take the time to find out the truth. Because of Mr. Johnson's false report and the bad feelings in the town, they overreacted. They decided to send a SWAT team to Mr. Elijah's house. A SWAT team is a group of police officers who are trained to deal with very dangerous situations. Imagine big, armored trucks and officers wearing helmets and carrying big guns arriving at Mr. Elijah's peaceful home. It was like something out of a scary movie. The neighborhood was filled with flashing lights and loud sirens. Everyone was scared and confused. All because of a little water and a neighbor's unkind heart. The situation had become much bigger and more dangerous than it ever should have been. Mr. Elijah was in his garden gently pruning his rose bushes when the SWAT team arrived. He didn't understand what was happening. He looked up, startled, as officers in heavy gear surrounded his yard. The bright sun glinted off their helmets and guns, making it hard for him to see. His heart started to beat fast. He was confused and scared. Why were these people here? What had he done? He raised his hands slowly, his gardening shears still in one hand. He tried to speak, but his voice trembled. What's going on? He managed to ask, his eyes wide with fear. He was just an old man in his garden, but to them he was something else entirely. Instead of answering Mr. Elijah's question, one of the officers stepped forward, a sneer on his face. Well, what do we have here? He said, his voice dripping with disrespect. Just an old man playing in the dirt. Another officer chuckled. Yeah, look at that skin. Bet it's seen better days. They were making fun of him, judging him based on the color of his skin and his age. Their words were like sharp knives cutting through Mr. Elijah's heart. He felt ashamed and humiliated in his own garden, the place where he always felt safe and happy. He couldn't believe this was happening to him. Their prejudice was on full display. Tears welled up in Mr. Elijah's eyes, but he refused to let them fall. He stood tall, despite his trembling hands and racing heart. He knew he hadn't done anything wrong. He was a good man, a valuable member of his community. He wouldn't let their hateful words break him. Taking a deep breath, he looked directly at the officers, his eyes filled with a quiet strength. He spoke 5 simple words, words that carried the weight of years of hard work, dedication, and love for his town. He said, "I built this community." The words hung in the air, silencing the mocking laughter. A hush fell over the garden. The officers, who had been so quick to judge and mock, suddenly stood still. Mr. Elijah's words seemed to hang in the air, heavy with truth. It was as if a spell had been cast. Some of the officers looked down, avoiding Mr. Elijah's gaze. They shifted their weight uncomfortably, the weight of their own prejudice pressing down on them. For the first time, they seemed to see Mr. Elijah not as a threat, but as a person. A moment of stunned silence followed, a brief pause where the cogs of their minds began to slowly turn, reconsidering the situation. The impact of his words was undeniable. Officer Davis, a young man who had grown up in the very town they were now invading, suddenly recognized Mr. Elijah. He remembered volunteering at the community center where Mr. Elijah always helped with the gardening club. He recalled Mr. Elijah patiently teaching kids how to plant seeds and care for the earth. He also remembered Mr. Elijah organizing food drives for families in need and helping to build the new playground at the park. All those acts of kindness flashed through his mind. Officer Davis knew that Mr. Elijah wasn't a threat. He was a pillar of the community. A wave of guilt washed over him. Clearing his throat, Officer Davis stepped forward. "Sir," he said, addressing the team leader, "with all due respect, I know Mr. Elijah. He's a good man. He's always helping out in the community." He turned to the other officers. "He volunteers at the community center. He helped build the playground at Elm Street Park. He organizes food drives every year." Officer Davis's voice grew stronger with each word, his conviction clear. He couldn't stand by and let this injustice continue. He had to speak up for Mr. Elijah, the man who had unknowingly shaped his own community for the better. As Officer Davis spoke, other officers started to nod in agreement. "Yeah, I remember him," one said. "He helped my son with his science project last year." Another added, "He always brings cookies to the fire station." The realization spread through the team like a ripple in a pond. They began to recall their own interactions with Mr. Elijah, moments of kindness and generosity that had touched their lives and the lives of their families. They had been so quick to judge, so willing to believe the worst, but now they were seeing the truth. Mr. Elijah was not a threat, he was a treasure. The SWAT team commander, a stern woman named Captain Reyes, listened intently. She watched the faces of her officers, seeing the shift in their expressions. She realized they had made a terrible mistake, acting on prejudice and a false report instead of taking the time to investigate. With a sigh, she raised her hand. "Stand down," she ordered, her voice firm but filled with regret. "Everyone, lower your weapons." She turned to Mr. Elijah, her eyes filled with sincerity. "Mr. Elijah," she said, "I sincerely apologize for this misunderstanding. We were wrong to come here like this, and I am deeply sorry for any distress we have caused you." Captain Reyes then approached Mr. Johnson, who was watching from his porch, his face pale. "Mr. Johnson," she said, her voice stern, "you made a false report based on prejudice and fear. That is not acceptable." She explained to him the importance of getting to know his neighbors and not jumping to conclusions based on appearances. She emphasized that his actions had caused great distress to an innocent man and had created unnecessary tension in the community. Mr. Johnson, finally understanding the gravity of his actions, looked down in shame. He mumbled an apology to Captain Reyes and then, hesitantly, to Mr. Elijah. Mr. Elijah, his heart still heavy but his spirit unbroken, looked at Mr. Johnson. He saw not a hateful man, but a man who was lost in his own fears and prejudices. With a gentle smile, he said, "Mr. Johnson, I accept your apology, but I hope you will learn from this experience." He continued, "We are all different, but that's what makes our community strong. Instead of being afraid of what you don't understand, try to learn about it. Talk to your neighbors. Share a smile. You might be surprised at what you find." Mr. Elijah's words were filled with forgiveness and a genuine desire to heal the divide. The events of that day became a turning point for the town. People realized that the prejudice and fear that had been growing needed to be addressed. The town council organized meetings to discuss how to improve community relations and promote understanding. Neighbors started reaching out to one another, organizing potlucks and block parties to get to know each other better. They shared stories, laughed together, and discovered that they had more in common than they thought. The children, especially, were eager to learn about different cultures and backgrounds. The incident, though painful, sparked a much-needed conversation. Mr. Elijah, with his gentle wisdom and forgiving heart, became a central figure in these efforts. He shared his stories, not with bitterness, but with hope. He talked about the importance of treating everyone with respect, regardless of their skin color or background. The town organized a Unity Day celebration, where people from all walks of life came together to share their culture through food, music, and art. Mr. Elijah proudly showcased his beautiful garden, explaining the meaning behind each flower and plant. He taught children about the importance of nurturing and caring for all living things. His presence radiated warmth and kindness, reminding everyone of the values that truly mattered. Mr. Elijah's story spread far beyond the town. He became a symbol of resilience, showing that even in the face of prejudice and hate, love and forgiveness can triumph. People admired his courage and his unwavering commitment to his community. He inspired others to stand up against injustice and to build bridges of understanding. His 5 words, "I built this community," became a powerful reminder of the importance of valuing everyone's contributions regardless of their background. He taught everyone that even one person, with a kind heart and strong spirit, can make a world of difference. His legacy would live on. The fear Mr. Elijah felt that day never truly left him, but it didn't stop him from doing what he loved. He continued to tend his garden, sharing its beauty with everyone. He redoubled his efforts to help those in need, knowing that kindness was the best weapon against hate. He even started a program called Building Bridges, where people from different backgrounds could come together to share their stories and learn from one another. He wanted to make sure that what happened to him never happened to anyone else. His garden became a symbol of hope, a place where everyone was welcome and celebrated. His resolve was stronger than ever. One of the first programs to emerge was the neighborhood buddy system. Every new family moving into town was paired with a longtime resident who would introduce them to the community, share local customs, and answer any questions they might have. This helped to break down barriers and foster a sense of belonging. Another initiative was the Cultural Crossroads Festival, a monthly event showcasing the traditions, foods, and music of different cultures represented in the town. It was a vibrant celebration of diversity that brought people together and encouraged them to learn about one another. These programs were designed to prevent future misunderstandings. The police department also underwent significant changes. Captain Reyes implemented mandatory diversity training for all officers, focusing on understanding different cultures and biases. They also started a community policing program where officers would walk the streets, get to know the residents, and build trust. The goal was to change the perception of the police from being an occupying force to being protectors and partners of the community. Officer Davis became a leader in this effort, sharing his experience and advocating for a more compassionate and understanding approach to law enforcement. These changes rippled through the entire department. There are many stories of people who, like Mr. Elijah, faced prejudice and stood up for what's right. Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a bus, sparking the civil rights movement. Nelson Mandela spent years in prison fighting against apartheid in South Africa. These individuals and countless others showed the world that courage and conviction can overcome even the most deeply ingrained prejudices. Their stories remind us that we all have a role to play in creating a more just and equitable world. They paved a path forward to equality. It is our responsibility to keep walking on that path. Imagine if Mr. Johnson had taken the time to get to know Mr. Elijah before calling the police. Imagine if the officers had asked questions and listened instead of making assumptions. The whole situation could have been avoided. Empathy is like walking in someone else's shoes. It's about understanding how someone else feels even if you don't agree with them. When we practice empathy, we're less likely to judge and more likely to connect with others. Understanding can make all the difference. We all can practice understanding and kindness. Learning about different cultures, histories, and perspectives can help us challenge our own biases and prejudices. When we understand where others are coming from, we're less likely to make assumptions and more likely to treat them with respect. Schools can teach about diversity and inclusion. Families can have conversations about race and prejudice. Communities can organize events that celebrate different cultures. Education is the key to unlocking understanding and creating a more inclusive world for everyone. With education, we can build a better future. Mr. Elijah's 5 words, "I built this community," became a powerful slogan for the town. They were printed on banners, t-shirts, and posters. They were a reminder of the importance of respecting everyone's contributions and celebrating the diversity that made their town special. The words inspired people to get involved, to volunteer, and to make a difference in their community. They were a call to action, urging everyone to build a better future together. His words became a symbol of unity. These words reminded everyone of their connection to each other. Mr. Elijah received many awards and honors for his courage and his commitment to his community. He was given the Citizen of the Year award, and a local park was named after him. He even got a letter from the president praising his resilience and his dedication to building a more inclusive society. But the greatest reward for Mr. Elijah was seeing the positive changes in his town. He saw neighbors helping neighbors, children playing together without prejudice, and a community that was truly united. That was the legacy he cared about most. He was most honored by the change he helped create. One of the most heartwarming outcomes was the unlikely friendship that blossomed between Mr. Elijah and Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson, humbled by his mistakes, started volunteering alongside Mr. Elijah at the community center. He learned about Mr. Elijah's life, his struggles, and his triumphs. He discovered that they shared a love for gardening and a desire to make their town a better place. They spent hours working side by side, planting flowers and sharing stories. The two men, once separated by prejudice and fear, found common ground and built a lasting bond. This shows how people can grow together. The media played a significant role in sharing Mr. Elijah's story with the world. Newspapers, television stations, and websites all reported on what happened, highlighting the injustice he faced and the positive changes that followed. These stories helped to raise awareness about prejudice and discrimination, inspiring other communities to take action. They also showed the power of forgiveness and the importance of standing up for what's right. Mr. Elijah's story became a beacon of hope, proving that even in the darkest of times, light can prevail. His story reached far and wide. Neighborhood watch participation increased significantly. More people were actively looking out for one another and reporting suspicious activity, not based on prejudice, but on genuine concern for their neighbors' safety. People started attending town hall meetings in greater numbers, expressing their opinions and working together to solve community problems. They realized that their voices mattered and that they could make a difference. This renewed sense of civic engagement strengthened the bonds of community and made the town a more vibrant and democratic place. The community started working together. The town council passed new laws and policies to prevent racial profiling and ensure that everyone was treated fairly, regardless of their race or background. They created a citizen review board to oversee the police department and ensure accountability. These changes were a direct result of what happened to Mr. Elijah, and they were a testament to the town's commitment to creating a more just and equitable society. The leaders learned from their mistakes. The town worked to make sure such a thing never happened again. They created a safer place. The town established ongoing programs to celebrate diversity and inclusion. Schools hosted multicultural fairs, showcasing different cultures through food, music, dance, and art. Libraries organized book clubs that focused on diverse authors and perspectives. These efforts ensured that the values of understanding and respect were passed down to future generations. The community recognized that promoting diversity and inclusion was not a one-time event, but a continuous journey. The town committed to always learning and growing. The future looked brighter. The lasting legacy of Mr. Elijah is a reminder that even the smallest act of kindness can have a profound impact. His 5 words, spoken in the face of prejudice, became a symbol of hope and a call to action. His story teaches us that we all have the power to build bridges, to overcome hate with love, and to create a world where everyone is valued and respected. We must remember that even in dark times, we can choose light. It starts with each of us. What will you do? To measure the impact of the community's efforts, the town started tracking statistics related to diversity and inclusion. They saw a significant increase in the number of people from different backgrounds participating in community events. They also noticed a decrease in the number of reported incidents of discrimination and prejudice. These numbers showed that the town was making progress in creating a more welcoming and equitable environment for all its residents. The community was working and numbers proved it. This proved that changes were possible. Mr. Elijah's story inspired young people to get involved in their community. High school students started a Youth for Unity club, organizing events to promote understanding and respect among different groups. They mentored younger children, teaching them about diversity and inclusion. They volunteered at the community center and helped with the Building Bridges program. They learned from Mr. Elijah's example that even young people can make a big difference in their community. They worked toward a better future. Their efforts were powerful. Local leaders actively supported the community's efforts to promote diversity and inclusion. They attended community events, spoke out against prejudice, and allocated resources to support the various initiatives. They understood that their leadership was essential in creating a culture of respect and understanding. They worked with community organizations, schools, and the police department to ensure that everyone was working together towards a common goal. The leaders understood they needed to support the town. The changes were thanks to everyone working together. Mr. Elijah's story reminds us that prejudice and misunderstanding can happen anywhere, even in the most peaceful communities. But it also shows us that even in the face of darkness, the human spirit can triumph. We all have the power to choose kindness, to build bridges, and to stand up for what's right. Let Mr. Elijah's example inspire you to make a difference in your own community. Let his 5 words, "I built this community," be a call to action for all of us. Let's create a world where everyone feels valued, respected, and safe. The end. We can all learn from Mr. Elijah's story. Even though he was scared and hurt, he chose to respond with kindness and forgiveness. He didn't let the prejudice he faced define him. Instead, he used it as an opportunity to build a better community. Think about your own community. What can you do to make it more inclusive and welcoming for everyone? Can you volunteer your time? Can you stand up for someone who is being treated unfairly? Can you simply offer a smile to a stranger? Every action, no matter how small, can make a difference. Be like Mr. Elijah. Be the change.